General impression. The CD cover belongs to CocoRosie, Tales of a Grass Widow 2013, and the design has that unmistakable CocoRosie mood, surrealism, tender eeriness, and a bit of handmade collage aesthetic. The library stickers almost become part of the composition, adding an accidental layer of archival charm. Visual details. The central image is a cropped photograph of a woman's torso and lower face. Only the lips, chin, neck, and upper chest are visible. This creates an immediate feeling of intimacy, but not soft intimacy. It feels ghostly, like a Victorian photograph that has been left in a damp attic. The entire surface has a washed-out sepia tone, giving the impression of age. The texture looks almost like pressed paper or fabric, which fits CocoRosie's preference for tactile, analog imagery. There are several unusual marks on the skin, small dot clusters, almost like hand-poked tattoos or symbolic markings. They form slight V-shapes and one W shape near the lower right. These marks are subtle but deliberate, they add a ritualistic, folkloric feel. A single loose strand of hair runs vertically from the chin down across the chest. That strand becomes weirdly important. It looks like it was placed there intentionally to disturb the symmetry and to break the photograph's stillness. Typography and text. The album titled Tales of a Grass Widow is written across the top half in a reflective, silvery cursive script. It's intentionally hard to read. You have to squint to decode it, which is a very CocoRosie thing, inviting the listener into a small puzzle instead of handing the message to them. The band name CocoRosie sits centrally below it, in a rainbow-hued Gothic typeface. That contrast, Gothic letters with shimmering iridescence, gives the whole cover a little fairytale meets underground vibe. Library stickers. You've got the sticker Electronica at the top, which is funny because CocoRosie is notoriously difficult to categorize. They're part freakfolk, part experimental pop, part electronic, part theatrical poetry. But libraries must choose one box, so Electronica it is. The blue sticker says,
Folkbiblioteken I Göteborg.
It feels like a blue moon hovering in the top right corner of the cover, slightly out of place visually, but charming in a found object sort of way. The barcode at the bottom right, 400447827 and the plastic protective sleeve reinforce that public object feeling. The cover becomes half art, half artifact. Thematic vibe. The imagery sits in that borderline territory between innocence and melancholy. CocoRosie often explore themes of childhood, trauma, memory, and mysticism. This cover fits right into that, a partial portrait, faded like an old family photo, but interrupted by marks and distortions that hint at buried stories. The whole thing feels ethereal, slightly unsettling, handmade and imperfect, intimate without being romantic, poetic in a rough-edged way. It practically whispers, rather than shouts. Overall, this cover visually sums up CocoRosie's sound, fragile voices, experimental textures, a mix of beauty and strangeness, and a sense of rummaging through forgotten drawers full of memories you're not sure you wanted to find. The back cover leans even further into that strange, intimate, handmade CocoRosie universe. There's a sense of ritual, domesticity, and danger all braided together, something they've always been good at. Visual content. The photograph is in gritty black and white, which instantly shifts the emotional register compared to the sepia front. It feels like an archival snapshot, raw, grainy, oddly candid. We see a person wearing patterned clothing, something robe-like, almost bohemian. The posture is tense, they're gripping a tool or utensil in their right hand and pressing it downward toward their other hand. The angle is ambiguous. It looks like a needle being threaded, or a knife being used for some small, delicate task, or a ceremonial gesture captured mid-motion. CocoRosie loves leaving things unresolved, and this image plays with that, half domestic shower, half occult ritual. The lighting is harsh, flattening the textures and making the patterned fabric almost hypnotic. The hands are the emotional center of the photo. One grips tightly, the other is open, palm up, waiting. There's vulnerability in that open hand and tension in the closed one. It has the energy of an old-found photograph from someone's drawer, taken at a moment that wasn't meant for outsiders. Tracklist design. The tracklist sits on the left, typed in a font that mimics a mechanical typewriter. Imperfect, spaced unevenly, slightly raw. Songs include After the Afterlife, Tears for Animals, Child Bride, Broken Chariot, End of Time, Harmless Monster, Grav Digress, Far Away, Roots of My Hair, Villain, Poison, and a bonus track that is not listed is Devil's Island. Even reading the titles gives you the emotional map: grief, mythology, vulnerability, anger, dreamlike symbolism. Themes of mortality and childhood trauma surface again, consistent with the front cover. The text seems to float unnaturally over the photograph, as if typed onto a separate film layer. CocoRosie loves giving their work that collage-assembled feeling, and it's fully present here. Library tagging. The sticker in the upper right, YX and CocoRosie 1 Tales of a GrassWidow / 2013, is unglamorous yet charming. Its blocky barcode structure cuts sharply against the analog aesthetic of the artwork. You get this collision of worlds: underground art meets municipal cataloging. The bottom right barcode is part of the original packaging, not the library. It balances the composition unintentionally, like a punctuation mark. Label and credits. At the lower left, the City Slang logo appears with the Jmarite symbol. This anchors the artwork back into the real world, legal text invading something dreamlike. SLNG 50050 copyright and sound recording copyright 2013 CocoRosie under exclusive license to City Slang. It's dry, but necessary. And it sits directly beneath that dramatic photo, which intensifies the contrast. Themesphere. This back cover radiates ritualistic energy, intimacy mixed with threat, an aesthetic of found photography, raw femininity and handmade identity, a certain punk fairytale grit. The whole thing looks like someone tore a page out of a family album but didn't check whether the image was meant to be seen. It carries that charged silence CocoRosie build their entire universe around. This image shifts the whole mood of the package into something quieter, heavier, and more atmospheric. It's almost the breathing space between the chaotic, intimate imagery of the front and back covers. Visual content. The image shows a bleak gray landscape fading into mist. The palette is entirely grayscale, soft gradients from light gray at the top to deeper charcoal at the bottom. The whole thing looks like a winter marsh or a field of tall grass caught in cold fog. The grass stalks are thin, brittle, and slightly bent as if under wind or weight. Their eyes in a wavering horizontal line across the lower third of the image. It has this lonely, late autumn feeling, nothing dramatic, just the slow erosion of light and warmth. It's visually quiet but emotionally dense. Surface texture. The surface appears slightly reflective in your photo, which creates faint ghost shapes and smudges. That accidental shine mixes with the foggy imagery and makes the picture feel double-layered, almost dreamlike. There's a faint shadow from the cover's edge on the right side, which actually enhances the sense of looking into a dim scene through a window. Typography. Tales of a GrassWidow appears again, but now in a faded, almost medieval typeface, tucked into the upper right quadrant. It looks like it's dissolving into the fog. The text is intentionally subtle, almost too subtle, as if it wants to be discovered rather than displayed. This connects to the album's themes of grief, memory, and fragile identity. The title itself behaves like something disappearing. Library sticker. The blue
Folkbiblioteken i Göteborg
sticker intrudes brightly into the muted world of the image. It's loud compared to everything else, But that's just library life. You get these unexpected color intrusions that create their own charm. Here, it almost works like a blue winter moon. The atmospheric vibe. Compared to the raw emotional closeness of the front and the ritualistic tension of the back, this third image is cold, distant, meditative, quiet in a haunted way, barren, yet strangely beautiful. It's a landscape that feels emptied out, an emotional echo after the album's stories. There's a sense of rest here, but not comfort. It's like standing alone in a field moments before snow begins to fall. The disc artwork is where CocoRosie's surreal, ghost house imagination really crystallizes. Everything here feels like a dream fragment etched onto metal. Visual content. The CD face is primarily silver and gray, giving it a cold, metallic, almost lunar surface. At the center right sits a monochrome photograph of a child. The child's expression is unreadable, somewhere between solemn, haunted, and curious. The clothing looks old-fashioned, like a faded portrait from the early 1900s. That alone brings a chill. CocoRosie often use images that feel like family photographs with stories no one wants to tell. Surrounding the child is a mesh of white, branch-like lines. They crackle like lightning, or like tangled thorns. You get this sense of the child being caught inside a web of memories, trauma, or magic. The branches radiate outward, creating a burst effect that pulls your attention right into the heart of the disc. There's also a faint geometric design framing the perimeter, a thin, Art Deco-inspired pattern, symmetrical and mechanical. That rigid geometry contrasts with the chaotic web of branches, giving the disc a push and pull feeling between order and disorder. Typography. The band name CocoRosie appears at the bottom in heavy Gothic script. It's ornate, theatrical, and carries the same ghost fairy tale aesthetic they love. The typography blends into the image rather than sitting on top of it, which reinforces that feeling of a relic or artifact rather than a modern CD. Material feel. The surface shine in your photo makes the disc look almost lacquered. The reflective sheen amplifies the ghostliness. Every angle changes how the child's portrait glows or hides. The disc sits in a black case background, which deepens the contrast and makes the silver disc appear brighter and colder. Thematic atmosphere. This disc artwork hits several CocoRosie keywords all at once: childhood imagery twisted into something uncanny, nature intertwining with human identity, myth layered over personal history, a quiet unease wrapped in beauty. The branches almost feel like memory scars. The child is frozen in time, and the design suggests the album itself is a container of fragile, tangled stories. It fits perfectly with the album's title, Tales of a Grass Widow, a collection of songs about loss, transformation, and the strange forms grief can take.